The Almanack of Naval Ravikant by Eric Jorgenson. Picture this. A scrawny kid, barely 9 years old, gets plucked from the chaos of New Delhi and dropped into a cramped apartment in Queens, New York. No friends. Zero confidence. His family? They're in classic immigrant survival mode. His dad was a pharmacist back in India, but here? He's restocking shelves at a hardware store because America doesn't care about his degree. It's rough. So where does this lonely kid find his tribe? Not at recess, that's for sure. He finds it between the dusty shelves of the local library. That becomes his hangout spot, his escape pod. His friends aren't other kids. They're books, ancient philosophers, scientists, inventors. They're all talking directly to him through those pages. He grows up broke, and honestly pretty miserable. But here's the thing. He's got one secret weapon. His mom's love. No conditions. No strings attached. Years later, he'd put it simply, if you have nothing in your life, but you have at least one person that loves you unconditionally, it'll do wonders for your self-esteem. That kid, Naval Ravikant. Fast forward, and he becomes a Silicon Valley heavyweight co-founding angelist, getting in early on Uber and Twitter, building serious wealth. But here's why we're really here today. Lots of people get rich. Seriously, it happens every day. But finding someone who gets rich and stays happy? That's like finding a unicorn. Finding someone who can actually explain how they pulled off both in plain English? That's basically a mythical creature. Naval Ravikant is that rare breed. For over a decade, he's been dropping wisdom bombs on Twitter, podcasts, and interviews, totally free. Then this guy, Eric Jorgenson, comes along, collects all of it, organizes the chaos, and basically gifts it to the world in the Almanack of Naval Ravikant. This isn't your typical crush it in business book. It's a roadmap for the two things that actually matter: building real wealth and learning to be genuinely happy. It's sold millions of copies and been translated into dozens of languages, not because it promises overnight riches, but because it offers something way more valuable: timeless principles for not losing your mind in the modern world. Today we're going to distill the most game-changing ideas from this book. Here's my promise. By the time we're done, you'll have a completely new lens for thinking about money, a fresh take on happiness, and you'll understand that both are learnable skills, not lottery prizes. You'll get how to build wealth without relying on luck, and how to find peace in a world that profits from your anxiety. So buckle up. Let's dive into the mind of Naval Ravikant. Most of us inherit the same tired script for success. Study hard, get good grades, land a solid job, grind it out. Do all that, and money follows. Then, happiness, eventually. Right? Naval Ravikant looked at this script and thought, this is completely broken. He watched people crushing 80-hour weeks at restaurants, working their fingers to the bone, staying broke. He saw executives and lawyers rolling in money but drowning in misery. Everyone was playing the game, but nobody understood the actual rules. His breakthrough started with unlearning everything society taught him about money, success, and happiness. As he puts it, I was born poor and miserable. I'm now pretty well off, and I'm very happy. I worked at those. Lesson 1. Most people are chasing ghosts. They want money or status. But these are illusions. Naval makes a crucial distinction here. Seek wealth, not money or status. Sounds like splitting hairs, but it's actually everything. Money, he explains, is just a transfer mechanism for time and wealth. It's society's IOU to you for creating value. Status? That's your ranking in the social pecking order, and it's dangerous because someone has to lose for you to win. Politics, sports, corporate ladder climbing, all status games. Playing them, Naval warns, makes you angry and combative, because you're constantly trying to knock others down to prop yourself up. Wealth, though, that's the real prize. Wealth is assets earning for you while you're binge-watching Netflix. Robots in a factory, software running 24/7, investments compounding. Wealth equals freedom. Not yacht-buying freedom. We're talking about not being forced to show up somewhere you hate at a specific time. So how do you actually build wealth? Not money. Not status. Real wealth. Naval's legendary tweetstorm How to Get Rich Without Getting Lucky lays it all out. It's a skill set anyone can develop. He's convinced that if he lost everything tomorrow and got dropped in any English-speaking city, he'd rebuild his wealth within 5 to 10 years. Not by outworking everyone, but by understanding the principles. First principle: you won't get rich renting out your time. This is the trap nearly everyone falls into. Even doctors and lawyers, high earners, are still trading hours for dollars. Stop working. Stop earning. For real financial freedom, Naval insists you need equity, ownership in a business. Could be tiny slices of public companies through stocks, or a major chunk of something you build yourself. Without ownership, you're just an expensive gear in someone else's machine. Your input directly equals your output. Wealth happens when you break that connection. So how do you get ownership? How do you create something society will actually pay for? Naval's answer: you get rich by giving society what it wants, but doesn't yet know how to get, at scale. Think about it. Society always craves new things. Once upon a time, cars made Henry Ford wealthy. Smartphones made Steve Jobs and his crew rich. Your job? Figure out what that new thing is, something you're uniquely positioned to deliver. Which brings us to one of Naval's most powerful ideas: specific knowledge. This isn't textbook stuff. If society can train anyone to do it, they can replace you. And if you're replaceable, you're not getting paid much. Specific knowledge comes from pursuing genuine curiosity and passion. It's what you were doing as a kid, almost effortlessly. The thing that felt like fun to you but looked like work to everyone else. Maybe you were obsessed with video games. Boom, you've got intuitive game theory. Maybe you loved gossip. Hello, natural journalist, science fiction fanatic. You absorb complex ideas like a sponge. Naval loved reading and tinkering with tech. He could explain complicated things simply. His mom even told teenage Naval, "You're going into business," despite his dreams of becoming an astrophysicist. She spotted his specific knowledge before he did. The beauty of specific knowledge: it's authentically you, which leads to another core principle: escape competition through authenticity. When you're competing, you're copying. But humans are unique. Nobody can compete with you at being you. Could anyone create a better Calvin and Hobbes than Bill Watterson? Could anyone out Joe Rogan? Joe Rogan? Impossible. They're being themselves. When you build something that's an extension of who you are, you're operating in a space where you're literally the best in the world. But specific knowledge alone doesn't cut it. You need a multiplier. You need leverage. "Give me a lever long enough and a place to stand," said Archimedes, "and I will move the earth." Naval says modern fortunes require leverage. There are 3 main types. First, labor, having people work for you, oldest form of leverage, and today the messiest and least effective. Managing people is brutal. Second, capital money. This dominated the last century. People controlling large money pools, bankers, investors, executives, can massively amplify their decisions. Warren Buffett mastered this. But the third type, this is the most interesting, most democratic, and has created the newest wave of fortunes: products with no marginal cost of replication. Translation: things you create once that distribute to everyone at basically zero additional cost: books, media, movies, and most powerfully, code. This is permissionless leverage. You don't need approval to start a blog, record a podcast, or code an app, just a computer. This is why podcasters like Joe Rogan earn tens of millions annually. How Google, Facebook, and Microsoft founders built empires. They wrote code that works for them 24/7. Every great software developer, Naval says, has a robot army working the night shift. So the formula crystallizes: arm yourself with specific knowledge, accountability, and leverage. Accountability is the third puzzle piece. Taking business risks under your own name. Society rewards you with responsibility, equity, and leverage when you stick your neck out. Ship captains go down with their vessels. That's accountability. Risky? Sure, because failure lands on you, but success does too, along with the credit and equity. In our world, the downside's limited. No debtor's prison. People forgive failures if you are honest and gave a solid effort. So Naval advises taking on more accountability than feels comfortable. Put your name on things. These three, specific knowledge, leverage, and accountability, work in concert, but they're guided by one final, crucial skill: judgment. In an age of infinite leverage, judgment is everything. Naval defines wisdom as knowing the long-term consequences of your actions. Judgment is wisdom applied to real-world problems. Warren Buffett gets paid for judgment. Nobody asks about his work hours. They trust his decisions. He might think for a year and act for a day, but that single action could be worth billions because it's so highly leveraged. This is why Naval says, earn with your mind, not your time. Your inputs and outputs disconnect. A brilliant software engineer might write a small piece of code in a few hours that creates $500 million in value. 10 other engineers could work 10 times harder on the wrong thing and create zero value. The difference, not effort, judgment. How do you develop judgment? Not in business school. In fact, Naval says skip business magazines and classes. There's no skill called business. Instead, study foundational skills: microeconomics, game theory, psychology, persuasion, ethics, mathematics, and computers. Understand fundamentals deeply. The smartest people, he believes, can explain things to children. If you can't, you don't really get it. Reading is huge here. He says, the genuine love for reading itself, when cultivated, is a superpower. Read what you love until you love to read. Don't force yourself through important books if they bore you. Start with what grabs you, and it'll eventually lead to the foundational knowledge you need. Once you've got this foundation, you need to apply it. That requires a different mindset, prioritization, and focus. Naval is ruthless with his time. Set an aspirational hourly rate for yourself, he says, and make it absurdly high. Before he had money, he set his at $5,000 an hour. Then acted accordingly. Problem worth less? Ignore it. Task someone else can do cheaper? Outsource it. This forces you to value your time and focus only on what truly matters. We spend too little time, he says, on life's three biggest decisions: where we live, who we're with, and what we do. A decade-impacting decision deserves months or years of thought. Finally, all this requires patience. There are no get-rich-quick schemes, he warns. Those are just someone else getting rich off you. Life's returns, in wealth, relationships, or knowledge, come from compound interest. This means playing long-term games with long-term people. When you find the right people and right projects, invest deeply and stick with them for decades. This is how you get rich without getting lucky. Sure, luck helps, but Naval argues there are 4 kinds. First, blind luck, like lottery tickets. Can't control that. Second, luck from hustling, creating opportunities through pure energy. Third, becoming expert enough to spot luck in your field. A skilled investor sees what others miss. But the fourth, most powerful luck, the kind you create. Building such a unique character, such a distinct brand, that luck finds you. Example: if you're the world's best deep-sea diver, and someone discovers a sunken treasure ship, their luck becomes yours. They need you to retrieve it. This kind of luck isn't really luck. It's destiny. You've built yourself so distinctly that opportunities hunt you down. So you apply specific knowledge with leverage, take accountability, exercise judgment, and stay patient. Eventually, Naval says, you'll get what you deserve. But then he drops a fascinating final thought. When you're finally wealthy, you'll realize it wasn't what you were seeking in the first place. But that is for another day. Perfect segue into the second half of his philosophy. Because once money problems are solved, you realize there's a much bigger, much harder game, the happiness game. For most of his life, Naval didn't prioritize happiness. Ask him 10 years ago to rate his happiness 1 to 10, he'd say 2 or 3. Driven, successful, often miserable. Today, he's a 9 out of 10, and money is only a tiny piece of that transformation. The rest came from a profound realization. Happiness isn't something you find, it's a skill you learn. Like fitness or nutrition, you can train yourself to be happy. This might be the book's most important idea. We spend so much energy trying to change external circumstances, convinced that promotion, car, or relationship will finally make us happy. Naval calls this the fundamental delusion. He tells a story about buying a new car. Intellectually, he knew it wouldn't change his life. He knew the moment it arrived, he'd stop caring. Yet he found himself addicted to the desire, hooked on the idea that this external thing would bring joy. Then it hit him. Desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. Sit with that. Every desire creates a deficit in your life. You're choosing unhappiness until you get it. We do this constantly and wonder why we're anxious. First step to learning happiness: choose desires carefully. Naval tries not to have more than one major desire at any time, and he recognizes it as his suffering axis, the one area he's chosen unhappiness to pursue a goal. But the rest of the time, how do we find daily happiness? Naval's evolved definition: happiness is our default state. It's what's there when you remove the sense that something's missing. When nothing's missing, your mind stops running, stops regretting the past and planning the future. In that moment of internal silence, you're content, you're happy. Problem is, our minds are never silent. Constant inner monologue, the monkey mind, always chattering, judging, desiring, fearing. Most of our brain isn't present. It's living in future fantasies or past memories. This, Naval argues, is the source of all unhappiness. How do we quiet the monkey mind and be present? Not by forcing positive thoughts. He points out every positive thought contains its negative opposite. To be happy, you had to be sad. To call someone attractive, someone else must be unattractive. It's all duality. Instead of chasing positive thoughts, seek absence of thought. Seek peace. Peace is happiness at rest, and happiness is peace in motion. If you're peaceful, anything you do becomes a happy activity. This is where habits become critical. Just as you build wealth through good habits, you build happiness the same way. He suggests practical things to cultivate inner peace. Meditation is obvious. He sees it as intermittent fasting for the mind. the art of doing nothing. Just sitting, closing your eyes, observing thoughts without judgment. The goal isn't stopping thought, but realizing how out of control your mind is. When you see your mind for what it is, a mad creature jumping thought to thought, you separate yourself from it. You realize you're not your thoughts. In that separation, liberation. He also suggests simple physical habits. Get more sunlight, daily workouts. Body peace leads to mind peace. Avoid alcohol, sugar, and caffeine for mood stability. He even recommends cold showers, not for physical benefits, but for the mental lesson. Most suffering comes from avoidance. Pain is in anticipation, not reality. Another crucial habit: stop judging. The more you judge, the more you separate from the world. You might get a momentary ego boost feeling superior, but long-term it makes you lonely and see negativity everywhere. The world just reflects your own feelings back at you. This points to deeper truth. Our happiness is entirely internal. Reality is neutral. A tree has no concept of right or wrong. It just is. How we interpret life events is up to us. This is what happiness is a choice means. Not choosing to feel joy, but choosing how you interpret reality. This can be incredibly difficult when things go wrong. His primary tool? Acceptance. In any situation, you have three choices: change it, accept it, or leave it. Most misery comes from not choosing, sitting around wishing you could change something but not acting, wishing you could leave but not leaving, refusing to accept it. That internal struggle causes pain. The single word he uses most in his mind: accept. How do you learn acceptance? His answer is surprisingly profound. Embrace death. When you fully acknowledge your time here is brief and fleeting, a firefly's blink, it brings great meaning to life. You realize most worries don't matter. You're gonna die, and none of it matters. Your legacy will be dust. Your civilization will be dust. This isn't pessimistic. It's liberating. If none of it matters ultimately, then life is just a game. And if it's a game, why not play joyfully? Why not interpret everything most positively? Every unhappy moment is wasted, precious, finite life. You're not doing anyone favors with your misery. This brings us to one of his most powerful ideas: the single-player game. We are social creatures, obsessed with others' opinions. We play multiplayer games for status, money, social approval. But life, Naval argues, is single-player. Born alone, die alone. All memories, all interpretations, alone. The only scorecard that matters is internal. This is why envy is happiness's enemy. When you're jealous, you're playing multiplayer. He has a brilliant trick for overcoming envy. You can't cherry-pick parts of someone's life: their money, looks, success. You'd have to take their entire life, their anxieties, family, self-doubt, entire consciousness. If you're not willing to do a 100% trade, there's no point being jealous. The goal? Find happiness being you. Get to where you don't want to be anyone else. This whole process, building good habits, learning presence, accepting reality, is about taking responsibility for your internal state. It's about saving yourself. Naval has a powerful mantra about this. Doctors won't make you healthy. Nutritionists won't make you slim. Teachers won't make you smart. Gurus won't make you calm. Mentors won't make you rich. Trainers won't make you fit. Ultimately, you have to take responsibility, save yourself. Nobody's coming to rescue you. Not in wealth, not in happiness. The tools exist. Knowledge is abundant. But you have to do the work. Choose to build yourself, grow yourself, and ultimately free yourself. Freedom is the ultimate goal, not freedom to do whatever you want. That's immature. But freedom from anger, from expectations, from uncontrolled mental chatter. That's the journey. It begins with understanding new wealth creation rules in the leverage age. Continues with realizing happiness is a skill you must cultivate, and culminates in quiet confidence from taking full responsibility for your life, internal and external. As he puts it, a calm mind, a fit body, and a house full of love. These things cannot be bought. They must be earned. As we wrap up our journey through the Almanack of Naval Ravikant, let's reflect on why these ideas hit so hard right now. We live in unprecedented opportunity. The internet gave us leverage kings, and emperors couldn't imagine. Anyone with a laptop can create and distribute ideas to millions. Yet this same world overflows with anxiety, distraction, and confusion. We have more, but often feel like less. What makes Naval's philosophy so compelling is addressing both sides of this modern paradox. He provides a clear, actionable framework for navigating abundance to build wealth, while offering timeless, stoic guidance for cultivating internal peace amidst chaos. The most profound lesson for me, both wealth and happiness are skills. This is incredibly empowering. You're not a victim of circumstances, not defined by genetics or upbringing. You're the architect of your life, and you can learn to build it well. His ideas force radical ownership. The mantra, "Save yourself," is stark, but necessary. Nobody else is responsible for your success or peace of mind. All on you. While that sounds daunting, it's also the ultimate source of freedom. How can you start applying these lessons today? Let's make it super simple. First, on wealth. Ask yourself, what is my specific knowledge? What are you genuinely curious about? What feels like play? Don't worry about monetizing yet. Just identify it. Then start sharing. Use the internet's permissionless leverage. Write a blog. Start a podcast. Create videos. Post on social media. Share what you're learning under your own name. Take on that accountability. That's the first step on the long road to earning with your mind, not your time. Second, on happiness. Pick one habit. Just one. Don't try changing everything. Maybe 10 minutes of morning meditation. Maybe cutting sugar from your coffee. Maybe simply getting 10 minutes of daily sunlight. Choose one small, sustainable action, moving you toward inner peace, and commit. Remember, this is single player. The only person to impress is yourself. This book isn't about grand gestures. It's about small, consistent steps compounded over a lifetime. A reminder that the most important battles aren't fought in boardrooms or battlefields, but in quiet moments inside our own minds. That was a summary of The Almanack of Naval Ravikant by Eric Jorgenson. We've touched on core principles today, but honestly, a summary is just a map. Real treasure comes from walking the path yourself. True magic happens in quiet reading moments when a story or simple phrase lands unexpectedly. This overview helps you decide if this book deserves your time. If anything sparks something in you today, grab a copy. Reading it isn't just learning. It's an experience that can genuinely rewire how you see yourself and your place in the world. Book link is in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable, hit that subscribe button. We explore a new, life-changing book from the Billionaire's Bookshelf every week, and I'd love you to join our community. Let's keep growing together.